Hi, I'm Andrew Dillon from Michigan State University, and I'm a basis researcher on the project Demand and Supply Constraints to improve fertilizer adoption and its gender-differentiated effects in Burkina Faso. So this project tackles the issue of why farmers don't adopt improved fertilizer practices in developing countries when there's a potential for yield gaps to be reduced and welfare to be improved by adapting these types of technologies. But we know that farmers in developing countries face many constraints, some of which come on the demand side of the market and some which come from the supply side of the market. So this project is designed to look at some demand side constraints and some supply side constraints to better understand how fertilizer adoption rates and specifically microdosing technologies may improve adoption rates and yield rates, and hopefully then also welfare of households. So one of the things that we've done in partnership with two national organizations, one is INERA, which is the Ministry of Agriculture's Agricultural Research Division in Burkina Faso, and the second is AgroDia, which is the National Organization of Ag Input Dealers, is to design a randomized control trial to better understand how social networks may affect learning and increase demand for microdosing technologies. And on the supply side, look at the ways that input markets are organized to offer farmers different purchasing mechanisms, we call them commitment mechanisms, to purchase fertilizer depending on the timing within the agricultural season. And so within this partnership, we've targeted either on the demand side or the supply side a series of trainings which were led by INERA and linked agro-input dealers to farmers in the RCT villages through AgroDia to better understand how demand-side constraints and supply-side constraints may affect adoption. One of the things that we think is particularly important, especially with respect to the social network targeting on the demand side, is that how we target within these villages may affect take-up rates. And we're not only interested in how take-up rates change across the different treatments in the randomized control trial, but who takes up and what's the composition of demand that changes in response to these treatments. And so one of our research hypotheses is to look at how targeting based on social networks may encourage adoption by female farmers, female sorghum farmers in Burkina Faso by the social network targeting. So in one of our treatments, we randomly assign starter packs and invitations to people to come to microdosing training, and in others we look at measures of network centrality. And so this is one way to disentangle how social network structure may either reinforce or encourage access to inputs and access to agricultural information between men and women. One of the ways we've designed our dissemination strategy is to work from the very beginning with the two organizations that I mentioned, INERA and AgroDia, and have them be part of not only the research design and conceptualization, but also the implementation. And now we're getting into the phase of working on dissemination of results. And so we've had a few different steps in our dissemination process. We've had some preliminary results on the supply side, which we've shared with AgroDia, which was of interest to them because it relates to input market organization. And so we've had meetings with them at their national conferences and also at the regional level to help agro-input dealers better understand the implications of the research. And at this point in December, we've scheduled a large-scale dissemination workshop in coordination with our partners at Innovations for Poverty Action, who are going to draw in local stakeholders and provide forum for national researchers and national stakeholders in the agricultural sector to come discuss the research results in a non-technical way. But also to have discussions about some of the implications of the results. And so our partners are going to be a critical part of that dissemination process and kind of communicating the results, but also their relevance in the national context. One of the really important parts of this research is to ensure not only that we do interesting research that contributes to building a knowledge base, but that this result is disseminated to national researchers and stakeholders that might be able to use it to affect agricultural policy.